So, first, state your name and position you are running for.
My name is Luap McKeever, and I'm running for Eastern Commissioner for McDonald County.
What experience do you bring to the table that is relevant to this particular job?
As far as experience goes, I've been running businesses for 25 years. I've been leading teams in two major corporations. I've led teams. I've got experience with contract negotiations, budget writing, budget amendments.
Okay. And then the next question, how long have you lived in McDonald County?
My dad moved us here in 1972, so I was 2 years old. So I've lived in McDonald County for 48 years now.
Next question is, what is the role of a county commissioner?
Commissioners, they are the executive body, I guess you could call it, of the county government branch. So they're in charge of writing the budget, approving the budget, amending the budget. They're in charge of vehicle and equipment maintenance for the county-owned assets. They're in charge of the jail, the courthouse. It's my understanding that anything that deals with money in the county goes through the commissioners. They're the overseers of the entire budget and all that.
Okay. Why are you running for this position?
That's a great question. 4 years ago, roughly 4 years ago, I started talking to people. And I was listening to their concerns and the things that bothered them the most. And then I'd go home and I'd talk to my wife about it. Say, hey, this person said this. And then I was like, I could fix that by doing this, or we could help by doing this. And I kept visiting over and over and over. I kept visiting people. And one day she said, you should be the commissioner. And she said it tongue-in-cheek, but it weighed on me. And I started thinking about it. So then I started getting serious. So I started attending commissioners' meetings. I wanted to learn more about it, what was going on, how, what the policies were, and procedures, and this and that. And then I seen areas of opportunity, right? So when you see areas of opportunity, and if it's something that you know you can help, it's human nature to jump in there and take, try and help as much as you can. So the reason I'm running for commissioner is I want to help. I hear the concerns. I've heard all these concerns for years. And I think I can help alleviate a lot of the stress that people are feeling.
Okay. If you become commissioner, what would you like to see improved the most?
Revenue stream, first and foremost. I think our biggest opportunity right now is we need revenue stream. We need money. And this COVID thing, it set us back 3 months. Well, if you do the math on the income on 3 months, that could be equal to $2 million.
Yeah.
Well, that's almost one entire department's budget that
Yeah.
we've lost.
Yeah.
By all this. So it's going to be a challenge. We need revenue. We need my number. So that's the first thing I would like to improve is getting more. A lot of people don't like it, but we do need the growth. I mean, people are wanting this and they're wanting that. Well, we can't do that if everything's flat. You're gonna have to have a balance here. So you want all these additional resources. It's got to be funded somehow.
As commissioner, you will be the voice for the people. You will have the power to decide on major decisions for the people. How do you feel about this?
Oh, I'm fine with that. I'm a constitutional conservative, I guess you could say. So I believe government should be by the people, for the people, and of the people. You can see on my website where I've written that don't be surprised if we go. I mean, my whole platform is technology, transparency, and communication. So major decisions that affect the entire county, I feel the entire county should have an input on it. So, maybe we could create an unofficial poll on a website or a Facebook page or something to kind of get the heartbeat of the community and see what everybody's thinking, lay the facts out there, ask them a few questions and see, because if you make one decision, it might sound bad, but if you're ignorant in a certain subject, you want to ask the public, because there's experts in every aspect of everything that are in our county. So why not include them, and fill them out and say, hey, how do you feel about this? So being a voice for the people, I'm fine with that.
It's a really good idea. If you get this position, what will be your top priority?
I'll probably, again, a revenue stream. Economic development is the technical term for that, I guess. We need money. My top priority, I'd be reaching out, I'd be working hand in hand with the Chamber of Commerce, which I'm a member of, and work with them to solicit more businesses in here. Work with landowners at this new interstate coming in. We need to be working with those landowners that surround the land of this new interstate. And I've already been talking with a couple of them. I won't mention their names. Let's reach out. Let's see if we can get a truck stop. My goodness.
Apparently we have to start again. Okay.
So the camera cut out and we were talking about economic development and how I would want to reach out and how I have been reaching out to landowners already that own land adjacent to the interstate that's going to be coming through. And I'm trying to imagine, let's get, about a truck stop or, another corporation.
Yeah.
So economic development would be, it should be the county's #1 priority for everyone.
So, next question is, if you get this position, despite who we have as sheriff, will you do everything in your power to help the sheriff's office so that they might be able to afford more officers?
Well, that's a very complex question. I am pro law enforcement, obviously. We all should be. I'm an ex-military. I'm a veteran, so I served for 6 years. So, and it's basically a form of the military, or a form of the police officers, law enforcement as well. So yeah, I'm very pro-police. Now, as far as getting additional officers, that is controlled strictly off of revenue. Again, we could come back to the revenue stream. Right now, the sheriff's office, I could go in and start telling you how the budget's broke down if you'd like. I'm perfectly happy doing that. But right now, the sheriff's office is getting 55% of the total law enforcement budget. Well, we have 4 breakdowns of our county budget. And so you want me to go ahead and go through all that?
Yeah.
But you got 4 breakdowns. So we have a 2% sales tax on the dollar in our county. And it's broke down 4 ways, ½ cent each way. So you got a ½ cent that goes to the Road and Bridge Fund, a ½ cent that goes to law enforcement, a ½ cent for 911, and a ½ cent for general revenue. Well, the ½ cent that goes into the law enforcement fund is broken down additionally. So you talk about it. You're talking a ½ cent, okay, over 4 cents, or a ½ cent of 2 cents. So you're talking, now you're breaking that ½ cent down, I think about 8 more ways. So when you're breaking a ½ cent down 8 ways, it doesn't leave a very big piece of the pie. But of that piece of the pie, the sheriff's department is getting 55% of that. And then the coroner's office gets a chunk of it, the prosecutor's office, the juvenile court, the circuit clerk. I mean, it's broke down several different ways. So the sheriff's office is already getting 55% of that budget. That said, I don't have a problem with additional officers. Excuse me. We have to have the revenue stream to do that. So you can't just, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, we're going to put on 20 more deputies when I'll never be able to fulfill that promise at our current revenue stream. I've studied the budget for 4 years, and it's not there. It's not there. And also, the sheriffs have access to grant money. Now, I don't know whether they're already using that or not, but there's a lot of grant money out there to help alleviate a lot of that. That said, I'm very pro law enforcement, but I'm also very pro accountability. I'll hold every department accountable for fraud and waste, and abuse. I'll hold every one of those departments accountable. So I don't like waste. I don't tolerate it. Because I've been a taxpayer for 35 years myself, and I want to make sure that my money is appropriated correctly.
Have you ever had to work with the police before?
What do you mean?
In any aspect, like as far as, like, I don't guess I understand my own question.
I have had to have some help from the police before in a private matter or personal matter that took place about 15 years ago. They were cooperative, and we reached a conclusion that I was satisfied with.
Okay. That'll work. For my question, we currently have many cases in McDonald County where a criminal has stolen something or broken into someone's house or been drinking and driving, and our prosecutor throws the cases out due to lack of evidence. How do you feel about this, and how can we fix it?
Well, I don't know if the county commissioners can fix that. That might be a question for the prosecutor and the legal teams. I don't know that the county prosecutor is ever even involved in legal matters when crime is involved. And I can only say that because over the last 4 years I've been attending meetings, and I can't remember a single meeting where something was brought up about that.
About a criminal case?
What do you mean, criminal case?
Well, like something like where somebody broke into a house.
Yeah, I don't recall ever hearing the commissioners meet about that either.
Okay.
It's concerning. I mean, it should be concerning for everybody. You see it every day, and social media has heightened that a lot. It's made everybody more aware. Everybody, in lack of a better term, paranoid.
Yeah.
It actually has, and that might be an unintended byproduct of social media. But you got to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
You got to pick your battles there.
Okay.
But I honestly can't remember a single meeting that I attended and observed where they talked about crime, in an active, ongoing case, because I think those are typically strictly between the prosecutor and the,
Yeah.
sheriff's department.
Yeah. Okay. How does it make you feel that we have a very high turnover rate at the sheriff's office, and what would your plan be to help in that situation?
Well, high turnover rate in anything is concerning. Again, I don't know if the county commission can do anything to alleviate high turnover rate. I'm a business owner. I own 3 businesses myself right now, and I know that I've had employees, and I know that turnover can be a byproduct of several different problems. It could be morale, welfare, pay, obviously. Which is, I know that's where you're going.
Yeah.
There could be several different reasons. Hostile work environments can cause turnover. Poor leadership can cause turnover. I mean, there's a lot of different reasons. So I would have to know the reason for that turnover probably before I could answer that question. Now, if you're talking about deputy pay turnover per se, then again, that comes to the sheriff as the one that submits the budget, so he can approach the commission. And I'm not against giving pay raises to deputies, but I also, from the private sector running businesses for a quarter century, I know you don't give everybody a pay raise. It should be based solely on merit, because you don't, no sheriff's office in the county has 100%. Everybody 100% of the time, all in, that would be naive to feel that way, I would believe, and there's always somebody that's pulling weight for somebody else. It just seems so. You'd want to give your top performers a merit increase, and then explain to the underperformers what they need to do to get to that level. That's the way it is in the private sector. It may be completely different in the public sector, but that's the way that I feel about it.
Yes. Do you think we might need to raise taxes to get more funding for the sheriff's office so that we can hire more deputies?
Can't raise taxes. We're statutorily maxed out in McDonald County. A lot of people don't realize that. We can't raise taxes.
I didn't realize that.
A tax increase is not an option. Now, there's levies and bonds out there that can do it. Now, an idea that I'll throw at you right now, this is one of my businesses we're in right now, and I'm in Benton County, Arkansas, where I've been here for many years. Well, every year when I file my personal property taxes to send off to Benton County, there's 2 lines on there. A lot of people don't know that. I thought about adding these lines to McDonald County. It would give citizens a voice as well. And those 2 lines are voluntary roads and bridge fund and voluntary police fund. So one of my thoughts and ideas to, and this is just me speaking, I haven't talked, you're the first person that I've talked to about this publicly other than my wife, is to add a line to the personal property tax, feel it out and no, I take it back. I've talked about it with my dad, and he thought it was a good idea too. And so we have voluntary. It's not mandatory. Just a line voluntary. So let's say you're filling out your personal property taxes for the year, and you're sending McDonald County $500 for personal property tax. Say it's $497, and then there's a line on there, and your most important. What's most important to you is, let's say, roads and bridges. And if there's a line on there, voluntary roads and bridges, maybe you round it up to $500 even.
Yeah.
Throw $3 toward the road and bridge fund. That's one idea I'm toying around with, getting more revenue so we can avoid tax increases. Again, we need revenue, and I can help a little bit. I hope to help a little bit with the revenue stream because I'm a member of 3 different business alliances, and those business alliances stretch from Fort Smith to Kansas City. So when we meet, and we've been doing this virtually here lately, but when we meet, we're always talking. It's kind of like a private chamber of commerce, if you will. We're always talking about, if a business wants to expand. I'll be out there saying, hey, come to McDonald County, right? You need to be come looking at McDonald County. We need here's the reasons. We got low taxes. We got beautiful scenery. Come to McDonald County. I'll share a story with you about this business alliance, and I got a little aggravated with them, but they were going to build a private label wet wipe factory, okay, like baby wipes.
Yeah.
And they were soliciting areas to build this 50,000 square foot factory. And the whole hunt took 6 months, 6 months of research and development, and they settled on Fort Smith, Arkansas. So I inquired, I said, why did you guys choose Fort Smith? And they said, well, the area there is beautiful and the taxes are cheap. I said, there's nowhere between Fort Smith, Arkansas and Kansas City, Missouri that has cheaper taxes than McDonald County, Missouri. And in my opinion, there's nowhere in that stretch that has better scenery. Look at Elk River. That's all you need to know. There's the river there and the Sugar Creek,
Yeah.
And their reasoning, it was the lack of infrastructure. That was their reasoning. They said they considered McDonald and Berry County, and the reasoning that they eliminated that in round 1 of their feeling was in lack of infrastructure. And upon reading doing more research on it, it was the roads were an issue for them, and the lack of true internet in the location that they were wanting to put it was an unserved area. Of course, I never could find out which area they wanted to put it. They didn't divulge that.
Yeah.
So long story short, Fort Smith, Arkansas got this place for 500 new jobs, 50,000 square foot factory that we could have had if our infrastructure was up to par. And so that's another area, that we need to be focusing on. So.
Interesting. So every time someone has gone to the commissioners and complained about a dirt road, this is just in the minutes meetings reports that I've gone back and read, that every time they go there and complain about a dirt road in the county, the commissioners decided that that road did not require any attention. What is your plan, and how would you handle this issue?
I love that question. Good one. Because I live on a dirt road, I feel very qualified to answer that question. And not as a commissioner candidate, but as a citizen as well, so I can feel your pain. I live on a 3-mile long dirt road, and I ride motorcycles on it, so I can definitely feel your pain. What I do know by attending the commissioners meeting is that we're supposed to be on a 28-day maintenance schedule for all our roads, whether it's chip and seal or not. No, let me take that back. Not chip and seal, but the dirt. The dirt is supposed to be on a 28-day maintenance schedule. We have 8 road graders, and 7 of them that are running, and 1's a spare. Okay. And this is going through all the meetings, and like I said, I'm going to learn everything I could. But there have been some areas of opportunity to improve that. And what I can say is that I will, since it's already somewhere in writing, or it's a policy that there's a 28-day maintenance schedule, I will hold people, we need to be as close to that maintenance schedule as we can. And let me throw something out there about one of my ideas for technology and communication with citizens. Can I elaborate on this?
Yes.
Again, let me reread the question a little bit, but
That was the last one on the first page.
I only got the one page. But anyways, how can I help fix the road schedules, right? Something like that?
It's talking about every time someone complains about our dirt road, the commissioners decided it did not require attention.
Okay. I don't know what grounds that they came up with to determine whether it required attention or not, but I would want to look at those. And is that something in writing? Is that something, does a pothole have to be 24 inches deep before it gets attention? But
Yeah.
one thing that I would like to do is build a digital road map, right? So that it'd be accessible for everybody in the county. And actually, I've already got it built, really. All I gotta do is turn it on. Just so, let's say you live on Big Sugar Creek Road and you want to see the status of your road. You can pull up this digital road map, just type in Big Sugar Creek Road, takes you right there to the road. So you can see if there's any outstanding issues, okay? Like say, for example, there's a culvert down, or a culvert having a problem, or a tree down, or whatever. And also on this road map, you can see it was last maintained on a certain date and estimated time to get it maintained again. That's one way that we can help get our 28-day schedule as close to 28 days as possible.
Absolutely.
And I know we're not on 28 days, and I'm quite sure that the current commissioners know that too, because I've expressed it, a few times. Hey, we're not on 28 days. I know the road that I'm on is more like 75 days. And I only know that because I've wrote it down a few times, just as my own analysis.
Yeah.
Another thing I'd like to do, which could help maybe expedite some of these repairs, is I'm kind of talking to you candidly, so I hope that people enjoy this video, because I'm really being candid with you.
Yes.
Liaisons, okay? I don't know if that's ever been looked at, but the way I look at it, and the common sense in my mind, says we got mail carriers and bus route drivers driving our roads every single day. Maybe some of them would like to volunteer to be a liaison directly to the county commission or the road crew, so they can make a phone call. Hey, because now we're hauling our kids on these, so if there's a road problem, maybe they're already reporting it to the bus barn, but is that where it stops? They need to be reporting it to the people that can make things change. So let's say you're a school bus driver on a route in Rocky Comfort, and you come across a problem, and so you could call it in to the commission or the road crew, and whoever that we deem to be the people to maintain this website after I build it could put that on that road. So let's say it happened to be Sugar Creek Road, and so you'd see that issue, right? And so the road crew would see that issue. I can make it have an alert, so it alerts people. And speaking of alerts, let's go a little bit further here. We're already getting text message alerts for weather.
Yes.
Why can't we do it for roads? So let's say you live in the mountain precinct, okay, and you pull up a website and you opt in to get road alerts, right? So you get your cell phone number. So if if the road crew's out there doing maintenance in mountain, or a tree's down, or the bridge is over at Catalpa, or whatever, we can send out alerts to those people that opted in mountain. So we could actually do those alerts proactively. So let's say you get one at 9 o'clock at night, right? Because you wanted this alert. You opted for it. It's not like we're going to solicit it and do it. You opted in for this. So you get an alert, hey, the bridge at Catalpa is flooded. Well, now it's 9 o'clock in the night, and then you Well, now you've got all night to think about an alternate route to the doctor's office or to work or whatever. So now you don't drive all the way down there only to turn around and be 10 minutes late to wherever you were headed. So those are ideas that I've got in being proactive. And I think a lot of those will help a lot of the situations. If we start being more proactive on our road issues, then there's less reactive. Okay, so, but again, everything comes back to money. I hate to keep beating that drum, but it's the truth. And anybody that studies the budget, which I've done extensively, can see, there's a lot of cost that goes into this. One example is we haven't built a new chip and seal road for almost 10 years, a new one in the whole county. So we got 500 square miles of roads in our county, and we haven't even had a new chip and seal road in 10 years because of all the flooding. We're catching up from flooding expenses, and it costs $25,000 a mile for a new chip and seal road, and it costs about $10,000 a mile for resurfacing an existing chip and seal road. So it's not cheap by any means. So I think some of those things will help alleviate some of the stresses, but as far as it goes to getting them actually fixed, we have to have that revenue in there. We shouldn't be a for-profit county, so we should be, I understand the need to have reserves, but maybe there's some room in that reserve fund to tidy up. And when we tidy up, we need to not do it in the wet season. For example, how many times, I'm sure somebody watching this can relate that they graded your road on a Wednesday and then we got 4 inches of rain on a Thursday. Maybe we need to be flexing there, and say, well, let's wait until all this, and we got a 2-week stretch of sunshine next week, let's do it then, Just little ideas like that, and they may not be feasible, but they're ideas that need to be looked at.
Yeah. And so this is a question I think you'll be able to explain or help us understand, me and the people watching. Right now, we hold money back from the sheriff's office to the point that they have to pinch every penny in every way that they can. Yet the road department has had $300,000, $600,000, and I've heard $1 million left over in the years past in their budget. And the condition of the roads are declining. And that's one of the biggest complaints that I get from the people in the county is that the roads are declining and the county is not doing anything about it. Yet we still give them the same amount of money every year. Can you explain this, and how do you feel about it?
Well, I'm not in the total loop on all that. But I do think that, if, and like what I was just talking about, the reserves earlier, there's a lot that goes into your question there to answer that. So let me see if I can break that down. Why is the sheriff's office running out of money? That's my first question. What's going on there? Why are we exhausting? So if you put it into perspective, that they get that 55% of that half cent, right? So in my eyes, in my math, that's about $1.8 million a year that the sheriff's department's already getting. So why are we exhausting all that? Where's those expenses going? So how can we maybe alleviate some of those expenses or reduce those costs? I mean, can technology help with that cost? Are we? Because I know that there was it 2019 or 2018? There was 9 total squad cars. Well, those ain't cheap, so that's going to come out of there too. So that's where accountability comes in. We got to be accountable. This is our taxpayers' dollars. We got to be accountable for every penny. Now, as far as I think you were kind of alluding to, could we maybe shift money from the road fund to the sheriff's fund? I don't know the answer to that. I could find out the answer and get back with you on that, but I do not know the answer to that. I would assume you could, but I'd also assume that it would take a budget amendment, and when you start talking about amending budgets, I think you're opening a whole new can of worms. Again, I'm not totally in the loop on that. Excuse me, but I would assume you could, and I'm sure if an emergency came up that it would happen. If it was an absolute emergency. But that's something definitely worth looking into.
Yeah.
And it's not, I'll warn you right now, it's not gonna be any better in 2021,
Yeah.
regardless who gets in office, because
Yeah.
we're already 2 million, probably, I'm just guessing, $2 million behind the curve.
Yeah.
And you see, the money that we're getting in 2020 is for 2021.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be $2 million behind the curve already because of this virus.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a challenge regardless.
And another thing for the people that are watching this to understand is that and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the budget that we will get, or that the commissioners will accept for 2021, will be approved before you even come into office. So you won't be able to approve a budget. I think they do it in November.
No, they do it in January.
They do it
Or
in
I think they
January.
might start. They might start the budget talks in November and December. Which, if I am the Eastern Commissioner elect, I'll be attending those meetings.
Yes.
I don't know how much input I would have. I haven't set any on budgetary meetings over transitional budgetary meetings. I haven't set any on any of those. I believe they're closed. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But we're going to be hitting the ground, not running. We're going to be hitting the ground sprinting.
Yeah.
In 2021, automatically.
Yeah.
We're behind already, and I'm sure that the county. I know I've heard that the county's gotten some relief from the government.
Yes.
And
They
I'm hoping that that'll help offset some of that.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I'm not totally in the loop on that. I don't think any candidate will be either.
Yeah.
On the ins and outs of that, just certain aspects of it. So
It'd be tough to be able to approve a budget like your first week on the job.
it would be, yeah. But I know that I have heard in the past that existing commissioners are usually more than happy to help that transition, because that is, if I'm, if you're elected and you're sworn in January 2nd or whatever, or January 1st, and then you're thrown right there into the lion's den automatically to approve these budgets.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the November and December attending those meetings will help.
Okay.
And I believe that commissioner-elects will have
Access.
some input on that, because they're going to be the ones inheriting these. But again, I haven't sit in on those, so.
Right now, right now there are many people in the county that are not happy with the way that the current commissioners have been running this county. What is your plan to rebuild the reputation of the commissioners with the citizens of our community?
I love that question. I'm so glad you asked that question. Again, I'll go back to 4 years ago when I started visiting with everybody. It might shock you, and it'll shock a lot of people. And I know I visited with over 100 people, within the last 4 years, or 4 years ago. When I first started thinking about doing this. Of those 400 people, or of those over 100 people, I'm losing my words. A majority of them, and I was fully expecting deputies, crime, roads and bridges, and then this and that to be their number one concern. It shocked me that probably 65% of them, their biggest concern was lack of communication. And you're agreeing, so that's a concern as well from you. So communication is my lifeblood. That's just what I've been doing for a quarter century, is communication and technology. And so what I can do to reinstill that trust value to the citizens is to tell you that on day one, we're going to improve communication. And or maybe it's a Facebook page. We're not getting enough sealed bids for our subcontracting stuff.
I agree.
We're not getting near enough. We're getting one or two.
Yeah.
I would love to have a Facebook page and say we need more sealed bids.
Yes.
Sealed bids equals competition. Competition equals lower prices. That's just the way it is. It's the way I do it here.
Yeah.
So communication is key. I mean, that's if you can fix the communication gap between the citizens and the county government, so people know everything that's going on, that they're able to know about. I mean, I'm sure there are some aspects of any government that it's not for public consumption. That's just common sense to know that. But the things that are able to be divulged, they need to be. You know, we need to be communicating. Hey, I just read this morning that we only got one tire bid for the law enforcement. You know, I was reading that this morning, and it was not even in our county. We've got tire shops in our county, you know, so I'm going to be soliciting and talking to those. I know them. I know some of the tire shops in our county. I know several of them.
Yeah.
Hey, we need your bids. You know, let's get this going.
Yeah.
So to get that trust going back again, you got to start with what I like to call collective collaboration with the citizens by using communication through the means of technology. When you do all that, you open up the transparency. So now you got citizens that are sitting there thinking, right now they may be thinking that they're left in the dark. Well, maybe it's just because it's a paradigm shift now, and we need to be thinking outside the box on bringing communication to the citizens. The newspaper's great and all, but not everybody does that. Not everybody pays for the newspaper. You know, there's free means out there. It's 2020 now.
Yeah.
There's social media. There's websites. You know, and the McDonald County website could use a facelift. I mean,
Yes.
and I'm only saying that. I don't mean that in a disrespectful manner to the people that designed it and built it whatsoever. But I am in this industry, and I know what the new technology should look like. It may sound like a cliche, but the more technology you introduce to anything, the more money you save. It's just the way it is. So we can't, maybe not necessarily cut costs, but we can reduce costs. You know, it's a big difference in cutting costs and reducing costs. It's two totally different things. And I believe that's one way that's number one. That's the first way that you can do that, is to get people involved. Like I was telling you about the polling people, you know, polling. If it's a major decision, you know, like a generational decision is what I like to say it. So let's say if it's going to affect the generations for 10 years or more, that's what I call a generational decision. So if it's a generational decision, maybe we need to go ahead and get the input of the people that are going to be affected for the next 10 years. I mean, it just seems like that's my ideas anyways on that.
Okay. How do you feel about the drug epidemic in McDonald County?
Oh, it's horrible. I mean, it's horrible. It's everywhere you look. I'd take you to 3 houses right now. It's terrible. But it's not exclusive to McDonald County.
Yeah.
I mean, this is I mean, it's,
Yeah.
you know, it's every county in Missouri could probably relate. You know, could probably say that.
And so there was something that the commissioners decided to opt out of. I think it was a few months ago, and I forget what it was. It was like ODET or something like that. And a lot of the police officers were upset about that because it was something, which I do not have the facts on me, but it was something like $1,000 a year, but you get resources like out the wazoo with it. And so I'm wondering why they got rid of that, or if we can bring it back. I don't know, but that was something that I would like to figure out.
I probably can't speak on that. If I did speak on that, I'd be inaccurate, and I don't want to be inaccurate. I like to be factual, and I do know that we pulled out of ODET because I believe there was no convictions in our county for a couple of years, and we were making those payments and we didn't. Maybe they didn't feel like we were getting our return on the investment there, which I kind of could get that.
Yes.
If you put it in the aspect, or I'll just throw an analogy out there for you. Again, I'm being candid. If you pay $40 a month for a home security system, but you keep getting robbed, you're probably going to look for a new security system.
Yeah.
And maybe that's where they were thinking. I don't want to speak for anybody because I didn't have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
And I can only assume, and I really don't like to assume. I really don't like to speak out of factual context. So maybe that's what happened. And I think that we're still active members of ODET, from what I understand. It's just that I don't think our sheriff has a vote, or that might have even been renewed in 2020. I haven't heard. What you're speaking of was it during the 2019 fiscal year.
Yes.
2020, they may be back members of ODET, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm unaware if they are. I haven't been able to attend any commissioners' meetings and ask questions
Okay.
since March because of this COVID thing.
Yeah. Okay. We just have a few more questions. And I think you've already answered this one, but it's on the list, and so we're going to ask it. What is the most important area that the current administration is lacking in that you would like to improve, and how?
Well, based on my conversations with citizens for the last 4 years, it's got to be communication. Number one, communication. And communication is so easy. It's free. It doesn't cost the taxpayers nothing. I could create a Facebook page in 2 minutes for the county commission. And you just, by doing that alone, you've just increased communication 25%. You know, we could do a website, you know. So right now, you know, and I'm not saying that in a negative or, you know, manner on the current administration, but I'm basing that on what people have actually told me, is that we need better.
Okay, so my GoPro cut us off again, so we will continue with the closing because I've already asked my last question.
But again, my name is Luap McKeever. I'm running for Eastern Commissioner. My platform is improving communication through the use of technology, which will also help with transparency. My biggest goal is to improve the communication across the board between citizens and the county government, give the community a sense of involvement by improving that open line of communication. I'd like to do some road liaisons and get to maybe even look into writing some grants for technical grants. For example, none of our county, from what I understand, our county squad cars don't have computers in them. There may be a grant in Jefferson City that will allow that, you know, to get some computers in the squad cars. I've had people reach out to me about availability. You know, they're concerned about the availability of the county commissioners because they work during the day, so they can't attend the commissioners meeting. And so I'm all for maybe once a quarter evening meeting to where people can attend when they're after work hours. There's technological advancements out there that would save money, so we don't have to worry about cutting costs right off the bat. Some of those are precast bridges, which I've been researching and learning about. Precast bridges can be built about 85% cheaper than on-site built bridges, and they're just as strong. And they're built in half the time. It takes half the skilled labor, half the labor force, and about 85% cheaper. So there's a lot of technological advancements that can be looked into. Now, the feasibility of all that in McDonald County, Missouri, the question is yet to be answered. But everything is worth looking into.
You brought up a good point there that I probably should have had as one of my questions. And that is that they do their commissioners' meetings during the day while most people are at work.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's like mandated that they have to do it during the day, or if we would be able to make those like later in the evening, like from 4 to 6 or something like that.
I'm all for that. You know, but that's just one.
Yeah.
The commissioner is 3 bodies, so it would have to take all 3 probably to vote on that.
Yeah.
But I'd be completely for that. You know, I mean, I'm the same way. If I can't attend a meeting because I have to work, you know, I'm like, hey, you know, so if we could do it once a quarter even, you know, why not? You know, I don't see why we couldn't do that. How else are you going to get the heartbeat of the community if you can't interact with the community?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm that guy that, you know, full disclosure, you know, I do own 3 businesses. The one we're sitting in now is my primary business. The other 2 would not affect the county commission at all. One of them is an online website, and the other one is our farm. So it wouldn't affect my duties in the county commission at all. So if elected, I would either close or sell this thing down. or close us down or sell it. So I could focus full-time on the duties of the commission. I built a private route for me, you know, the different areas of the county that I want to visit daily. You know, go check this out, go talk to these people, or, you know, this and that. And so, to me, it'd be a full-time job. And it's already a full-time job, really. It's a 24/7 job. Any kind of community service is 24 hours a day. You got to be ready, you know. So, but yeah, I'm all for the night meetings. I have been for years. I've thought about that in the past, you know, before I even thought about doing this. You know, it's like, oh, well, they're closed. They closed, you know, the courthouse, for example, is closed, and you need to go pay your assessment bill. They close earlier than you get off work, you know. So, but yeah, you know, I'm all for that expanding once a quarter as needed, and it might come out that we do it 2 or 3 times, and then decide, hey, everything's going fine. We don't have to have a nightly, quarterly meeting this month or this quarter or whatever. So, but at first, yeah, I think so. You know, once all the grass has been mowed, you know, if you would, let's do that. You know, and how else? You know, as long as people are respectful about it. You know, I mean, I'm only speaking for myself, but if I'm a commissioner and we got a hostile group coming in, it's not going to be so welcome. You know, look, respect is a two-way street. You know, is the way I look at it. So if you come in being courteous to me, and I promise you, I'm going to be courteous to you. You come in being hostile to me, you know, I can get hostile as well. But nothing, you know, that hostilities and stuff and tempers don't ever get anything accomplished. You want to keep on track. You know, you want to put the goal. What's the goal? Here's the goal. Here's where we're at now. How do we get there? That's the way I look at it. So.
All right. Well, I think that sums up our meeting. So
fair enough. And thanks for your time. Cool of you to do this. It really is. It's kind of cool. More citizens should get more involved. So.
Yes, I agree.